What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we are going to be assessing the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2 after 200 plus miles. And this is a shoe I haven't talked about in definitely a couple of months, but it's come back into my lineup, and I'm basically going to compare it and contrast it a little bit to the Vaporfly Next Percent 1 and 2 as I have it in my lineup, and just kind of discuss what I like and dislike. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. You guys already know how this goes if you continue watching the content and you are a continued subscriber to the channel. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Without further ado, let's get into it. Specs are probably going to go right here for the Hyperion Elite 2. We're just going to get right into it. So, basically, the backstory behind this shoe was I originally wasn't going to buy this shoe, but I did find it on a website for a really great discounted price. I think it was like $50 or $60 less than the tag price for, most of these carbon racing plate shoes, which is like $250, so I got it for like $200. Long story short. Then, of course, I went through and just broke it in, put it through my workouts, gave it some assessments, and then this shoe ended up going on the shelves because I wasn't really feeling very comfortable with it. And as you can probably see on some of these particular toe boxes, they might be kind of cleared up since then, but there's been blood developing in the toe box area because the fit was just so odd to me. I thought it was maybe because the shoe was too big, and every time my foot was running and I was doing this more forefoot toe strike, it was sliding into the toe box and it continued slamming. It could still be the case, but since then, I've become a little bit more of a veteran shoe tire, I guess you can say. And I've kind of worked out some of the kinks and some of the issues that I might have had with the shoe before. So before we get into talking about those things, let's obviously look at the outsoles or the bottoms of the shoes in this particular case. So that's the left foot, that's the right foot, and you can probably see in the heels, not a whole lot of wear and tear, so it's not a big deal. So funny enough, from the looks of it right away, again, this is something that we do look at my right foot for because it is so odd. You can probably see, based on the wear and tear, that it's actually not too bad for 200 plus miles. And this probably says a lot as to how quickly I destroy shoes. I'm very impressed with the lifespan of this particular shoe at 200 plus miles. I know Brooks wasn't necessarily marketing this as a daily trainer, but it does get used as a daily trainer by a lot of people. I would obviously consider it more of a daily racer, maybe more of a tempo runner, threshold kind of workout shoe, and that's why it's back in my lineup. So obviously with the Chicago Marathon coming up in less than 2 weeks at the time of this video filming, I needed a shoe that could act as the Vaporfly Next Percent without necessarily getting another one, as I'll probably show you guys in a minute. Like, my love for the Vaporfly Next Percent has kind of dropped. And seeing that the Brooks at 200 plus miles has survived this long, I'm definitely enjoying the lifespan of this shoe a lot more than Nike's competitor with the Vaporfly Next Percent. So that's like the first thing I definitely like to address. And as you can obviously see from the wear and tear, the foam does have a little bit of, damage here on the midfoot area, but that's okay because, obviously that's what's supposed to go, supposed to happen. And I'm seeing that the rubber plating that they have in the forefoot area is kind of worn, but it's not really ripped off yet. It's actually holding on to the foam actually quite well. So this is just a huge plus for, Brooks' design to keep it from scraping off whenever you're running. And the fact that the foam is taking more of the impact kind of shows you that I guess overall it's going to last quite a while if it's going to just damage the foam instead of the plating, which you need to essentially have the grip on the road and be able to navigate through icy, rainy conditions overall. So that's just something I've noticed, and so far the shoe is going to be handling pretty well in those conditions. Now there's two things that I want to talk about at this point in time, 200 plus miles into the shoe, that I'm having gripes with. One of them, of course, is still the fit of the shoe. And what I'm going to describe this as is the shoe seems to be exhaling in the middle of my workout. Now, what do I mean by that? It's when you initially tie yourself into the shoe and you're locked in, you do your runner's knot or double knot, whichever you prefer. What seems to happen is in the middle of your run, it seems like the rest of the shoe tends to expand. And it's almost as if, because there's so much wiggle room still in the shoe, you feel like you're loosening it. But what you're noticing is you're not necessarily loosening it in, this area. It's loosening more in the central shoelace area of the tongue of the shoe. And it's just so odd, because then you'll go like 2-3 miles in and you're feeling loose in the heel, and then you tell yourself, well, okay, we got to stop and retie these shoes. And that's what I do, and then I usually fix the problem. But it isn't a good thing to happen if you're like in the middle of a race and you're going to anticipate stopping and tying your shoes. You want something reliable that's going to stay tied in the whole time. And maybe this is just my novice experience with getting shoes of this caliber tied properly. Perhaps maybe just here, you know, in this tongue area, we got to tighten everything a lot better, and then the serrated shoelaces will obviously do their job. It's possible, and maybe this is just my fault, but this is just something I've noticed, rather than something that's a little more carefree, like the Alpha Flies, or like the the Vaporfly Next Percents, where you can just tie them right away and they don't really loosen up. They're locked and loaded. So that's one thing for sure. And the second is, in terms of gripes, this is something that happens a lot with, at least my experience with Saucony shoes in the past, and this is not a jab at Brooks or Saucony for this matter. What seems to happen is the shoes have a build that has kind of a stiffness to it. And because of that, if you're using the shoe for a prolonged period of time without rotating it out, what I've noticed is that you start developing a bit of quad and knee soreness. And I don't particularly want to like call out like the MCL or the ACL on your knee in particular. I'm just saying that the impact points of this shoe to your knee joints and the muscles surrounding it tend to flare up a little bit more than something with a little more spring and a little more foam than like a daily trainer, like a Mach 4, or in this case like an actual Tempo Next Percent that has those air pockets for that sort of decompression absorption every time you impact the ground. So again, this may be just my problem, that a shoe like this is supposed to be a race day shoe and maybe not like a daily racer. But it is weird because Brooks markets this thing as something that can take daily trainer miles. You know, you can go 250, 300 plus miles in this thing. You can train in it almost daily if you wanted to. So, you know, what's the deal? If I can do that in this particular shoe, maybe my form isn't fit for running in a shoe that's built in a way where when you hit with the midfoot, it's supposed to rotate rather than me able to strike with my forefoot area and be able to spring off right away, kind of like with the Tempo and the Alpha Fly, which is like almost perfectly suited for me. So yeah, those are the two things I really wanted to address more or less with this particular shoe. But overall, you know, I can still run some really fast paces in it. It's just I understand that two things. One, I'm going to have to like readjust the fit of the shoe midway through my runs, and two, it's going to hurt for the next couple of days afterwards whenever you're putting this thing through, you know, the trials of going fast, like something maybe in the 620s to 550 pace per mile types of runs. And I've just come to terms with that it's a lot better than it was earlier this year when I first had the shoe, but it's also, it still hasn't really upgraded all that much since, you know, I've taken out 100 plus miles, and then now putting a new 100 miles on it, it still has a few issues that, of course, I've kind of cleared, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not the best carbon plate shoe I've ever run in, but it's definitely better than most that I've come across. So, that being said, I think we're going to end the video here. So, definitely comment down below if you had a similar experience with the Hyperion Elite 2s. If you own a pair, if you have, like, the opposite reaction with it, that this is just the best thing you've ever run in. It's got the best fit, no shoe tying issues or anything like that. You know, just let me know in the comments. I'm always in for what you guys have to say. But then, of course, if you did enjoy the commentary, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You guys know how this goes. And yeah, in 2 weeks time we'll have some Chicago Marathon footage and the vlog associated with that, so stay tuned for that. So other than that, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys real soon.